Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm pleased to be here today. I'm happy to see a reasonable crowd showed up on a fairly cool morning. I have to admit I'm a bit myopic when the theme cycles came up. I didn't think of the 11 other things that Hannah mentioned. I just thought about cycles. That's what I do, and so I'm really happy to be here. Today, I want to give you a little bit of a talk about how the bicycle can change your life. A few weeks back, when Emma contacted me with this invite, I was really excited, and I jumped at the chance to stop by for an opportunity. An opportunity to talk about myself, my work, and my passion for cycling. So, the theme today, of course, is cycles. I did a little bit of digging. Hannah mentioned that it came from Germany. Actually, it's Freiburg, Germany, is a town that nominated this month's theme, and I've actually cycled in Freiburg. It's a great town in southwestern Germany. It's wedged between some of Germany's finest winemaking regions and the Black Forest of the nearby mountains. This part of Germany, the Schwarzwald, is where so much of what we love about Germany comes from. It's good food, it's good wine, it's cuckoo clocks. So this is Freiburg. They're also very, very well recognized for having some of the best cycling infrastructure in the world. Year after year, they're recognized for this. And so I want to thank Freiburg for that and for coming up with this month's theme, cycles, and that is what brings me to this place before you today. Cycling and bikes in general lie at an intersection. Maybe we popped through one. Here we go. Lie at an intersection of so many things in our lives, our commitments and our needs. For some, the bike is simply the perfect extension of our bodies. For others, it's a way to unite, elevate our voices. My journey to this intersection is along multiple streets, as is probably the case for many of you. I'll arrive on one path and depart on another, only to loop back to find even greater experiences. So I've pulled together this list of why I ride. Each item on this list is one of my paths to the intersection and a place where I hope we'll soon meet. So I ride bike to be free, to be fast, to be functional, to find fortune, which someone doubted earlier today, but it's one slide. To see the world, to save the world, to share the world, and to strive for fitness of mind and body. So this is a story about me and my relationship with the bicycle and how my relationship with the bicycle continues to shift. When I'm done here today, I hope that each of you will realize that it's the bicycle that's the star of my movie and come away with the understanding that it can be the star of your movie as well. So, when I was a kid, my bicycle was my freedom machine. Freedom from the confines of the backyard, freedom from the slow pace of walking to school, and for a few fleeting moments, freedom from gravity, as we'd leap our bikes off of an embankment near our house. Now, this isn't actually a picture of me, because my mom would never have taken a picture of me doing something like this. However, what struck me about this particular picture is that's the very same ramp we built. And I think coast to coast, in the early 70s, kids were building ramps out of either firewood and plywood or cinder blocks and plywood and jumping over their brothers and sisters or whatever they could find. Evel Knievel was very popular at the time. So, for a little while, at each moment when we'd hit that ramp, we'd escape, we would be free of gravity. Of course, gravity would return, and sometimes with a vengeance. Cycling came with more than a few scrapes and bruises, and a broken tooth caused by a rambler that just parked out of nowhere. Looking back, though, I really wouldn't change a thing. My discovery of the bicycle opened a door to the world, and I wheelied right through it. A few years later, I discovered that I could make a bike go pretty fast and pretty far. I started hanging out at my local bike shop and dreamed of getting one of those 10-speed machines I marveled at. It was amazing how one could shift. Finally, when I did get one, at age 12, I waited a lifetime. At age 12, I got a Schwinn 10-speed, and I promptly took it for a long ride. That summer, there was a ride in our town, a charity ride, a bike-a-thon that was designed to raise money to help to find a cure for diabetes. And on the docket was the longest route, 25 miles. And I did it 4 times that day. So that was my first 100-mile bike ride. I was pretty wiped out for a few days, but I was hooked. It was over the next several years, riding around my hometown, that I shifted gears again. I got a new bike, a lighter bike. It was at that time that bikes really started to become a part of my identity. I knew the names of bike racers. I could pronounce the names of French and Italian bicycle brands. I would, with occasional success, tell stories of far-off bike races in an attempt to impress girls. When it came time to head off to school, I picked a school near Denver which had a bike racing team. It was there that I really got my first experience of what fast was like on a bike. This is about the time of the transition from mechanical bike speedometers of the 60s to electronic speedometers, bike computers. The one I bought topped out at 100 kilometers an hour, or roughly 62 miles an hour. There was a road, it was steep, and it was above 10,000 feet, so the air resistance was less, and it was straight. It was in the mountains above Idaho Springs, and we would ride this road often. 99.9 kilometers was always the goal. 99.9 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, was always the goal, and we'd often achieve it. I also met a lot of folks. Oh, there's a picture of the road. My wife said, that road doesn't look steep in that picture. Well, the road is steep. The road is steep and straight. So I also met some folks at that time who could ride up the hill really fast, too. In fact, I had an opportunity to race against, and most often lose to, several riders who had gone to race in Europe, and even some who would win Grand Tour stages. It became clear I wasn't going to be getting a pro contract, and I started to realize that my path to the bicycle intersection in the fast lane wasn't the only way to get there. So I made a shift. I moved to Minneapolis, I got a job in a bike shop, and I picked up shifts as a bicycle commuter. But a background here on bicycle, I said bicycle commuter, I meant bicycle courier. And a little bit of a background on bicycle couriers. There was no internet at the time. There was no email. There were no viral memes floating around. Folks would have a document, and they would want to get it across town quickly. Bicycle couriers, dispatched by pagers, that's something for a whole different talk, we would rush into an office, pick up the paper, carry it across town with much haste, sometimes delivering it in as little as 15 minutes. We were the Pony Express of the downtown Minneapolis area. We were cavalier risk takers, always just one step, one pedal stroke ahead of the law. Well, eventually the fax machine came. Al Gore invented the internet. And now Elon Musk controls all of our communications. See, I thought it was important that I have a vice president from both parties in this presentation. Anyway, time to shift again. This time, it was to find fortune. I wrote up a business plan, selected Fargo, North Dakota, and opened a bike shop. We were Island Park Cycles. We were located a block from Island Park in a tiny little storefront. This was 1987. Fargo was ripe for a new bike shop. It had a local community that would embrace me and the ideals of our store. It would elevate us to what our store has become today. Fargo also had another thing. It had long, as we're finding out today, long, cold winters. The sort of thing that could really put an independent bike dealer into a deep funk. Or provide the opportunity to explore, to skip town for a while. I did a lot of both, and fortunately, the later gave me a deep appreciation of the bicycle as a means to adventure. As I shifted my gaze to the south in the winter months, seeking warmer climates to the lower latitudes, I could extend my riding season to beat the physics of the long winters. I was getting my vitamin D fix first in places like Utah and, Mexico, Panama, eventually South America. It was the way that we spent our winters, just getting away to warmer climes. The bike was a perfect tool to explore these regions and the perfect tool to break down the barriers that so often stand between travelers and the local folks. So too does traveling with kids. When our girls were quite young, at just 1 and 4, we spent the months of January and February traveling across South America, Chile and Argentina. As our heralds, our girls helped to open many doors on this adventure. We weren't wealthy American tourists, we were vulnerable vagabonds. Locals would feel their hearts tugged at a need to meet us and to help us. This was incredible. It forever affected Carrie and me and our girls too. To this day, the phrase, "Ay, qué linda," which we always heard when our little blonde-haired, rosy-cheeked girls, what beauty, would come into an area. They really stood out. They loved the attention, certainly. "Ay, qué linda" today remains a part of our family's vernacular. We continued to travel with our girls, and we continued to use them to break down barriers. By the time our girls were in high school, they had visited and biked in maybe 20 countries. I believe that when viewed on a bicycle, a stranger will see you differently. And more importantly, the view from a bicycle changes you for the better. Today, both our girls ride to work, one in San Francisco, one in Nashville. And the world is a better place from their contributions. I'm going to grab just a quick drink of water here. So while in Fargo, I also worked to help shift the attitudes about the bike, and I advocated for those in my community who shared my same faith in the bicycle. I served on many boards and communities. We created Great Rides. This is a nonprofit branch of our retail business. Its mission is simple: more butts on bikes. We promoted cycling in all of its forms throughout our community. And with my good friend, Rory Beale, he's a talker who you might consider for another month. Probably could adapt to many different themes. So I'll get you a connection. Rory Beale and I created Streets Alive. This was a day that came along a few times each summer where we would invite the folks of Fargo to come into downtown Fargo and Moorhead and turn off their engine and turn on their hearts. We would get between 4,000 and 7,000 people out on their bikes to enjoy downtown on foot. I say on bikes, but sometimes on foot, really just about anything human-powered. Unfortunately, COVID and our general resistance to get together in really large groups affected this, and Great Rides was forced to make a shift. One of the things that we developed at that time was our Great Rides travel program. It's another way that I love to share my passion. We host trips, mostly to Europe, for cycling adventures. I love to take a cycling nut out of Fargo, out of here in the Midwest, where they have either figuratively or literally faced some headwinds. Really, it's probably both figuratively and literally facing headwinds around here. When they see what the world looks like in a cycling-forward culture, it really changes their perspective on things, and it makes them think about ways we can improve things at home. So sharing the world with people on tours, as I mentioned, mostly in Europe, has been a fantastic opportunity for me to see the world, but to share the world as well. I've not forgotten my passion for fast bikes either. On these trips, I've regularly shared the experience of the Tour de France with dozens of local cyclists who get to watch these superhumans grind up the steepest passes you can imagine. A day spent in July waiting for the tour, watching the tour, it's simply the pinnacle of cycling high culture. I grabbed a couple of videos that I want to share with you now. For the last several years, they've been putting videos on the bikes. So the first one is a view from the cyclist, from the racer's perspective. This is what the Tour de France is for them. The crowds are incredible. The culture, the international culture, the language. Cyclists have a love-hate relationship with the... As a fan, I think if it's a love-love relationship, but sometimes there can be challenges to the enthusiasm that comes from the crowds and the fact that there's no barriers, right? I mean, we're just right there.
Et 20 secondes, 5 minutes 20.
On this day, a British rider named Thomas Pidcock wins the day. So that's the view that's hard to get, afforded to 150 or 170 cyclists each year. This is the view that 1 million people get just by walking up to the side of the road. And this is after hours and hours of waiting and partying and drinking and just having a wonderful day in the mountains. So the Tour de France, if you ever have an opportunity to get over and see it, it's coming to a French road near you this July. All right. I've also seen through my travels the effect of including bicycles in urban planning. Throughout Europe and in many cities in America, they include a bikes-forward philosophy into infrastructure development, and it creates a shift in the way the community evolves. They enjoy less traffic congestion. better air quality, and lower infrastructure costs. This is an elevated bicycle roundabout on top of an intersection in the Netherlands. I mean, it's an incredible forward-thinking way to grade separate these two. Busy bike intersection, busy car intersection, not so terribly expensive to build this extravagant thing. From a city's planning standpoint, I don't know how many dollars it costs, but certainly a lot less than major car infrastructure. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this sort of thing, but whenever we put ourselves into a 3,000-pound car versus onto a 30-pound bicycle, we cause about 10,000 times the wear to the road as we traverse that road. Bike lanes are much, much cheaper to repair than car lanes, and this is even before we start to compare the cost to us and to our neighborhoods and to the planet that we choose to, and the planet when we choose this means of transport, a car that weighs 100 times more than a bicycle. This is a great shot of 60 people and their cars. I think it's 53 cars or something like that. Typically, 60 people would take 53 cars. Typically, 60 people take 60 bicycles, but it's a much smaller impact both on the width of the street and the wear and so on and so on. So, so many places have realized that when they make this change, it benefits them through all specters or all aspects of their community. And riding for transportation simply is good for the soul. Today, I rode here. I might be the only one. I don't know. No judging. Today actually was a great day to ride because when it's cold and crisp like this, the tires are really, really quite sticky. So a few days ago when we had the ice and then a little dusting of snow over the top, that's when it's a little bit tricky. But a day like today, great for the soul. For some time, bike enthusiasts have proclaimed that cars are coffins. This has been a mantra of bicycle advocates for a long time. However, I've come to think of it more as cars are cages. When we drive in our car, we're in an insulated, soundproof, climate-controlled box. We're usually alone. Sometimes we use our phone to try to reach out to others, but we don't hear, smell, or really even see what's going on around us. We're really isolated. But on a bike, we're part of the streetscape, the world, and the people in it. It's these connections that I think help to make us human, help to remove this feeling of isolation that permeates so many of our lives. This is a Dutch bike lane. And it's near collisions, it's all sorts of things. But boy, it's people in close contact with each other. Closer to home, the League of American Bicyclists recently released their 50-state report cards that grade states on their state-level accommodations of the bikes. North Dakota was 41st. But encouragingly, we were second in our cohorts of states. That's Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska. These are 6 of the 7 least densely populated states of the lower 48. And population density is a major factor in the success of bicycle infrastructure. Now, I'm not suggesting that we move 6 or 7 million more people into North Dakota, which would be about what would elevate us to the density of the average of this country, which isn't a particularly dense country. But I do think it's important that we look to places like Fargo, where the density is such that we can make such projects work. Interestingly, what isn't a factor in making bike projects work is northernness. In fact, of the 5 highest rated states here in blue, 4 of them either touch Canada or touch a state that touches Canada. So northern states work. And in fact, if you added Ontario and Quebec, these places actually are Canada, they would also score very near the top of all of our states. And we've been talking a lot about the Netherlands. We'll throw in the latitude of the Netherlands as well. So northernness, cold winters doesn't prevent it. Density is a big factor, but it's making a shift in attitudes over time. Another thing that we like to do as cyclists is to strive for fitness, of course. And at our store, Great Northern Bicycle Company, that's a shameless plug. I know I'm not to sell up here, but whatever. Maybe we could cut that, but no. We've introduced many, many folks to our passion too. Our weeknight rides bring together scores of riders who can test themselves against one another or just test themselves against the road. They also will turn into a social ride. So each year, our cyclists will rack up more miles than is a trip around the globe. We usually get 30 or 35,000 rider miles out of each of, totaling up all the rides miles ridden. These rides are free and all are welcome, very similar to the Creative Mornings theme. And it's also great for employee morale, too. Isn't it fantastic, the days I get to go to work, and I know that part of my shift that day is going to be to get to lead a ride. So finally, as a lifelong commuter, I've realized many of the benefits of escaping a car. I get a quick workout each morning. I get a quick workout on the way home. I always get to park as close as I like. None of you park closer than me today. I'm about 5 feet from the door. And the time on the bike is my time. I did a little digging for this presentation to find pictures of me commuting, and there aren't a lot of them. I did find this one, a shot I took last summer. I like to think of this as a great representation of how tall and slender I've become. Here's one that a coworker shot of me just yesterday. Now, you know, when you drive to work, the workday starts the moment you put your keys in the ignition, and it doesn't end until you throw those same keys on the counter at the end of the day. But when you ride to work, that time is your time. Your workday ends the moment you throw your leg over the bike. And that adds up. Maybe it's 15 minutes a day. That turns out to maybe 15 hours a month. By the end of a year, that's a solid 24/7 week. You can do the math on that. When you ride to work, that's all your time. If you want to stick it to the man, ride your bike to work. So here we are in December, the shortest day of the year today, tomorrow, very soon. We're talking about bikes. We look outside, it's cold. I don't know how much it snowed yesterday. How are we going to get all this started today? Well, remember, the name of this talk is Shift, How the Bicycle Can Change Your Life. It's not shiftless, how you can figure out how to stay in bed all day. We've got to come up with something. We all know that big shifts can happen when incremental change is implemented over a long period of time. And so for some of you, it's going to be hard any time in the next, say, 100 days during the winter to make a lot happen. Or is it? For example, we sell trainers at our store. You can pick up a trainer. We actually have them on sale right now. Most trainers will measure your effort, and they can map that onto real-world applications that will show you how many watts you're putting out, and they'll let you do a ride down a virtual, or sometimes it's always virtual, but a mock-up of a real street. Sometimes it's a fake place. Sometimes it's the Champs-Élysées in Paris. What's cooler yet is I can ride those same routes with you. We can have a meetup in the virtual world and ride around the streets of Paris. Allons-y. I'm going to flip to a video of this kind of taken to the nth degree now. This is a guy, he's not wearing a shirt, but he's in a pack of riders where a bunch of them decide to have this meetup. And we've got people from all over the world riding. He's German, we've got a French guy, I can't quite see these flags, an Aussie looks like, and they're all riding together in this pack from all over the world on these virtual applications. To be part of this is a $100 bicycle trainer that will transmit your power output into these virtual settings. So it's a pretty incredible way to while away the winter. Now I see a snow-capped peak, but there's very little snow in this video, right? So it's quite unlike what we're experiencing around here right now. It's a way to get started. But if we do have snow, maybe you buy a fat bike. That's how I got down here today. Maybe spend a little bit of time researching a real-world adventure that you'll plan to go on. Just bring bikes into your thinking, into your cycles every day. It's a great way to start to prepare for when you're going to have a better opportunity in the spring to make this shift onto the bicycle. I know that many of you are in the creative world and you're doing creative things in marketing and so on and so forth. We are seeing more and more often bicycles incorporated into marketing through ad placements and so on and so forth. Usually they're selling pharmaceuticals, right? So perhaps you can ask your doctor, is bicycling right for you? So the point is, find your path and pedal your way to the bicycle intersection. I look forward to meeting each of you there. Thank you. I'm going to grab my water here. And now I sit.
Now you sit.
Und now
So
sit.
next portion, as Emma has shared, is our Q&A session. So this is an opportunity
where we wanted to be a little bit different and give you all an opportunity to be able to share your questions with our amazing speaker, Tom. And if you're, so Emma, of course, has a microphone, so we want to make sure we just do recorded, and we can be able to make sure that Tom can hear you. But because I already have a microphone, I guess I get to ask my question first. Oh, my gosh, how awesome. So, Tom, I have personally bought, another plug for your Great Northern. I bought 4 bicycles from you so far.
Thank
from
you.
your company.
It's been a start.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So I'm a new father, and so something that I try to just be mindful of is like, okay, how do we incorporate more of bicycles and more health in our family? But for people who may not either have families or just trying to get started and looking at different things, what are something personally, what are ways that we can utilize a lot of find out the information about where we can find good bike paths? I mean, we randomly just leave our driveway and just go,
Sure.
but sometimes it's nice to put them on the trailer or whatever, and then go to a place. What are some of the best paths that you have found being in Fargo for so long that you could suggest for new riders who want to go out and explore their community?
Got it. Great question. Certainly, Metropolitan Council of Governments is a fantastic resource for this. They have an online, regularly updated bike system, Fargo Moorhead bike system. So Metropolitan Council of Governments, you could go to the website and find your way there. I don't know the exact link. But so that's got a lot of great information, and it shows all levels of bike paths. And that's an important consideration as well, because you might be seeking a certain type of path if you are introducing your kids to cycling. You might be looking for something different if you're just got to get to work as fast as possible. And so Metropolitan Council of Governments is going to have good information on that. Another way to do it is to join in these rides that we have throughout the week. Many of the rides take us out of town, but even then you're learning ways in and around town. Some of the more recreational rides are focused in town. And so you're finding, you're riding these routes and finding these bikeways, the secret passages through our community that cyclists and runners know, right? If you're a runner, there's certain routes that you run and so on and so forth. So yeah, getting involved in the community, but Metropolitan Council of Governments, a great resource.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll open it up to our floor for questions.
Hey, Tom, great talk. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
For your service to community over the years. I actually rode my first and only Century on a bike bought at Island Park Cycles, so thanks for that. That was a lot of years ago, so 1997. My question is, with the recent and maybe not so recent redevelopment of downtown, what are some things that have come into downtown that make it easier to commute in that area, and what are some things that have maybe left that you miss having downtown?
I think downtown, it's been progress more than regression. Certainly, there are sharrows throughout downtown. These are the chevrons on the street that remind motorists that, hey, bikes belong here as well. I remember people becoming upset when they decided that it was inappropriate to ride bikes on the sidewalks of Broadway, and cyclists saying, oh, it's so restrictive. They're like, no, it really isn't. The average speeds on Broadway are like 16, 17 miles an hour. Most cyclists would feel comfortable in that area, and they increase the signage to help make cars aware of that. Jeremy Gordon, city engineer, has been very proactive in his utilizing green paint. We've got a lot of green bike lanes downtown. We've got a lot of experimental things, like there's a separate bike lane that lies between the sidewalk and the parking over here on NP Avenue. The city has been really quite progressive in accommodating bikes in the way they're trying different things to do that. So we're going in the right direction. We're not there yet. It takes a long time to get to the Hovering of Eindhoven in the Netherlands, but I do think that we're making progress.
Got a question in the back, and then we got Hannah. We'll get you next.
So what are some things that you think would be beneficial to add to the community to make cycling easier?
That's a great question. So, we talked about how we've got folks at City Hall who are helping to make cycling easier, and they're the ones with the purse strings, right? They're the ones who can control the infrastructure. but asking the community at large to make cycling easier and better is to, one, get on a bike, right? The more of us that are on bikes, the better it is for biking. There's study after study has shown that when you increase the number of car-bicycle encounters, and that's not incidences of collision, but just encounters, when bikes and cars share the road more, those collisions go down because motorists become more aware. So the ask, I guess, would be see the cyclists, be aware that cyclists are out there, and the best way to do that is to become one.
So buying a good bicycle is quite an investment that not everybody has the privilege to be able to get and to be able to afford. So what are ways to make bicycles more accessible to everybody in our community so that we can have more people able to ride instead of drive?
Yeah, the barrier of entry, that hurdle to buying a new bicycle, and it's true. We've seen the prices of new bicycles go up in recent years, as we've seen so many things go up. However, it is still possible to go and buy a $300 or $400 new bicycle. I don't want to diminish the fact that $300 or $400 is still $300 or $400. That's a new bicycle. Every day we repair bicycles. We're working to keep bicycles rolling. The goal, again, as I said, is more butts on bikes, and that might be a 20-year-old bicycle saddle. And so recognizing that there is a barrier to buying that fancy new bike like the one I lusted after in 1976. But there are plenty of, matter of fact, you can probably still buy the bike I bought in 1976. You could buy it on the used market and find one for under $100. So yeah, setting that aside as a priority for long enough to get $100 to $200 together, you can get yourself on a bike.
Follow-up, are there reputable sites for used bikes? And do you see possibly a future, do we already have these in town? Like the bikes that you can rent for a day?
Okay, so reputable sites for bikes, there's a lot of great people on Facebook Marketplace selling things, and that's a reasonable spot to look. Our store, the retail stores in town, all sell used bicycles. So when you buy from a retailer, you're going to understand that bike has been tuned up and ready. We offer an adjustment warranty and so on and so forth. It comes at some premium, I'm sure, over the score one might be able to find on Facebook Marketplace. And then I'm going to kind of expand on the last part of your question. The bike share that we operated in Fargo for 5 years also fell by the wayside as a product of COVID. It was primarily funded by NDSU, almost exclusively utilized by NDSU, and when they were out of session, that ceased to operate.
All right, well, I'll take this last question. Thank you.
Long time supporter, first time listener. Tom, what role does the electric assist bike have to expand the ability for people to explore and I'm thinking of folks who haven't been cyclists to explore and use the bicycle as utilitarian for travel, for adventure, all of those things.
I appreciate that question, Rory, and that's certainly something that is changing our industry and changing the cycling community right now. The e-bike gives a person an opportunity to get back on a bicycle. We've had so many people who have come in and looked at e-bikes, some hem and haw whether or not it's cheating. I don't care if it's cheating. We've had people who have not been on a bike for 10 years, and they come back a year later and say, I rode my bike 1,000 miles last year. That's more than most of us did here, right? So cheating or no cheating, the e-bike really creates that opportunity for people to get back on a bike. It removes some of the excuses. It's too windy today. It also, from a commuting standpoint, creates some great opportunities. I mentioned how Broadway, you can't ride in the sidewalk, bikes have to ride in the street. I think that's fine. The streets, they're going 16 miles an hour. But in a lot of spots, they're going fast in 16 miles an hour. A Class 1 or a Class 3 e-bike that actually gives you assist through 28 miles an hour will change the world. It changes the way riding in traffic feels. If you can go 28 miles an hour down a 30-mile-an-hour road, that's a vastly different feeling than when cars are just whipping by you at 2 or 3 times your speed. So it opens many, many doors for commuters. It opens many doors for people who maybe have drifted away from the bike over the years to get back on and ride a bike more. It really is becoming a very, very substantial part of our business.
Well, let's give another round of applause for Tom. Thank you so much. That was wonderful being able to share about cycles today. So we, of course, do this once a month, but we want to hang out with you more often. So me and Emma always come up with like our fun activities and events that we can probably see us at and want to tell you more about the fun things. So Emma, I'll let you start and then I'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. So my things to do that I would recommend, first off is they're doing it's called Jingle. It's a pop-up bar in the old Avalon building, which is now called the Sinclair. It's on the 3rd floor, really fun, Christmas theme bar. They've got fun drinks, and their team worked to like fully curate it just for this weekend. My pro tip, I did not know this. I was invited to somebody else's like session, but you have to RSVP ahead of time. So you have to like kind of reserve your seating ahead of time. So definitely worth checking out. And then my second one is the Winter Wonderettes at the FMCT is, I believe, this weekend. So definitely go support local theater. We were watching the crane over there building their new building, which we're really excited about, excited for the future home of the FMCT. But definitely go support them in the current work that they're doing. So if you're not quite in the jolly mood yet, pop by Jingle and then go watch the Winter Wonderettes at the FMCT.
Excellent. And for all of mine, because I am over my winter and merriment, I'm ready for January. Just kidding.
Ricky.
I am.
Your poncho says otherwise. Man.
This is me trying to force myself to still be in the spirit.
Okay, well, you're looking good while doing it, I guess.
Thank you. So for, of course, in January, because I'm ready. There's a few things that are going to be super awesome. So happening, these are totally out of order, but that's just how I wrote them down. There's an MLK celebration happening on the 20th at the Fargo Theater. It is the Moja 56, put on by Fred's Dissonance. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be able to celebrate diversity and inclusivity here in town. There's also nominations open if you know someone who is a champion for inclusivity and diversity. You can just check out the Fargo website or fredsdissonance.com, and you can be able to nominate someone. They're looking for individuals, looking for groups, and like community organizations that all embody those principles of Martin Luther King. So speaking of clothes, which is kind of fun, the FMCT has an event called If These Clothes Could Talk, a mystery fashion theater. I don't even know what that means, but I just bought tickets because I'm going to go and figure it out. You might see this poncho again. I don't know. But that's going to be happening on January 4th at 6:30 at the current FMCT building in Moorhead at the Yemcom Center. So definitely check that out. Tickets are only $35, I think is what I spent, or $30 for if you are an FMCT member. And last but certainly not least, this is something that's really, really cool. The FM Symphony is doing a celebration. I love puns on
Cellos.
words. Yep,
We love cellos.
So that's happening on January 12th at 2 o'clock at the Jasper Hotel.
Is that limoncello? The
Oh,
Italian
that too.
afternoon?
That too.
Dang it, that should have. I'm gonna make sure that they find out because that was good. So that is at 2 o'clock on Sunday, January 12th. So if you're looking for something more afternoon fun, definitely go check that out for some good music and maybe some limoncello. Who knows? I'm sure the Jasper probably.
Limoncellos with the cello.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Perfect. Sweet. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm so glad we booked out your social calendar for the next 2 weeks. It was our absolute honor. We just want to give one last thank you to our sponsors, which is the team at Livewire for coming, setting up. They braved the snow yesterday. They got this all set up. They did the PowerPoint slides. Like, it's really spectacular. Thank you, you guys. They do all of the things. So grateful for them. Grateful for Studio Freshly, Morgan in the back, snapping those cool photos. Morgan, give us a wave. Yes, that was such a cute wave. We have Jeff with cereal, celebrating his cereal here at Creative Mornings. He's gone. He left. That's true. You're right. He had an appointment.
But his cereal is here.
Well, give him a big hug from all of us, Crystal. We've got our friends at Marvin for supporting us fiscally. NDSCS Fargo. Is Lee still here? Calling people out individually. In this season of gratitude, thank you, Lee, for helping make this event possible. Next up is the Downtown Community Partnership. I know Rocky's here this morning, or at least he was here when we started. Yeah, Rocky, thank you. Thank you, personally. This is your personal gratitude moment for supporting this event. We are appreciative. The Plains Art Museum and our friends there for setting up the chairs. Serena, do you set up the chairs yourself? I helped, Yeah. See, Serena's setting up your chairs. She's making your coffee. She's reminding us about the weather, and we are grateful for that. And then our friends at Kilborn Group, additionally, for making this possible. So I'm glad that I got to thank each of you individually. Hang out with us. They've got the art cart in the back. They're doing collages. Get your vision board set for the new year. That's what I would be doing personally. But thank you, Tom, for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. My
and for
pleasure.
your beautiful message on cycle. We appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you. And thank you all for coming.
Yes.
Huzzah.
Thank you. Have an amazing day. Go and be creative. We will see you again on January 29th.
Yes, we'll see you then. Toot.